You are watching No Filter with Debbie. I'm Debbie Schlussel, and these are my views and opinions. Welcome to No Filter with Debbie. I'm Debbie Schlussel, and you know what's driving me crazy? I'll tell you, the continuation of the legal battle by the Trump team. I am all for their continuing of the battle and finding election fraud, but to what end? What is their end game? They have lost case after case after case after case. I think it's now up to 26 or 28 legal battles in court that they have lost, and now they are appealing them. So again, I ask, to what end? Are they going to find enough ballots to basically overturn that many states that they need in order to get the electoral votes? No. And if you believe that they will, well, I have some land to sell you. Maybe some land underneath Mount Rushmore or Lake Sakakawea or somewhere else, because they're not going to find the votes. We talked about this on the show many, many times, that since the election, that there are about 250,000 votes, not millions, but 250,000 votes that could change the election in the selected states where it was close and where the counting took a long time. Places like Michigan, my native state, places like Wisconsin, places like Pennsylvania, Arizona, Georgia, and the like. Those are the major ones, maybe Nevada. They're not going to find those votes. As I have said on this show many, many times, once the ballots are separated from the envelope, it's a private ballot. Your ballot can never be found. We don't barcode ballots. And as I have said on this show, maybe we should do that. But you would have to give up your right to a private ballot. You would have to give up that right. You know that with barcodes, the information is going to get out there. We know with hackers, we know with these vote counting systems from Dominion and other companies. They're not supposed to be connected to the internet. In many cases they are. They can easily be hacked. We know this. Maybe they can't be easily hacked, but we know that eventually, if you have a barcode that's traceable to you and your ballot, it will come out how you voted. So if you want to give that up, great. And I'm all for trying to find something. I wanted so badly for President Trump to win. So badly. I really, really fear for this country under Joe Biden, whether or not the Republicans hold on to the Senate. And they may not hold on to the Senate, but let's say they do. They are only 2 senators away from Kamala Harris, who will eventually be the vice president, unfortunately, breaking a tie. And let's say it's not even the 2 senators. You can have Republican senators who are moderates, they're rhinos, they're Republicans in name only, who are going to support things that are very bad for this country. I can name at least 8 Republican senators, at least 8, who will vote for immigration amnesty. The Democrats don't need 8. They only need a few. You know, Romney would support it, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Marco Rubio. Hey, he was the pimp of this immigration amnesty bill during the Obama administration. John Cornyn, he supported it too. There are many, many others like them. And that is the problem, because this is going to be a disaster. And the only person who would have stood in the way of this is President Trump. And it does not look, if you're going to be intellectually honest with yourself, it does not look like he is going to be the president. In fact, if I were a betting person and I had $1 left to my name, that dollar would be betting on Joe Biden, because he's basically won. Yes, I know. Nobody calls it till Congress decides, till all the states certify it. And we'll talk about Michigan and what happened today and whether they certified it. They did. And we'll go into that. But let's look at the press conference. I want to play you some clips from this press conference on Thursday with Rudy Giuliani. And this is part of the problem Trump has going for him, which is that he's got a bizarre group of people that are at the forefront. First, Giuliani does an imitation of My Cousin Vinny from Joe Pesci. Look at this.
They weren't just not allowed to do it. They were pushed, few cases they were assaulted. In all cases, they were put in a corral so far away, probably the closest they got is from here to the back of that room. We could do like a, did you all watch My Cousin Vinny? You know the movie? It's one of my favorite law movies because he comes from Brooklyn. And when the nice lady who said she saw, and then he says to her, how many fingers do I got up? And she says, 3. Well, she was too far away to see it was only 2. These people were further away than my cousin Vinny was from the witness. They couldn't see a thing.
So, a lot was made of his quotation of My Cousin Vinny. My biggest problem with it was, this is a serious news conference, and I understand sometimes you have to inject some humor, but doing an imitation of Joe Pesci, to me, did not go over well. It sounded kind of bizarre, and he had to know people would seize on this and not take him seriously. I defended him in tweets. Listen, when he, on Thursday, made those comments about Joe Pesci and how many fingers have I got and quoted My Cousin Vinny, it's well known that the late Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia was a very big fan of My Cousin Vinny. That case has been, that movie has been cited by many, many attorneys as their favorite movie. And yes, I know it's fiction, but it's been cited by attorneys in their arguments. It has been cited by judges. And like I said, Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia, still, this is a serious press conference. You're trying to prove that you have the goods. And he really didn't have the goods. I want to show you a clip, and then after the break, we will discuss what's wrong with this clip.
Jesse Jacob, not me. I was instructed not to invalidate any ballots and not to look for any deficiency in the ballots. Why would you do that? Because you're cheating. On purpose cheating. Intentionally cheating. You're cheating as a institution. This is an instruction from the election commissioner or the employer to the worker. Don't look for any deficiencies in the ballots. I was instructed not to look at any of the signatures of the absentee ballots. If she was instructed to not to look for any of the signatures on the absentee ballots, why the heck do you sign it in the first place? In order to identify it. She was instructed not to do that because many of the absentee ballots were fraudulent, and they knew that, and they didn't want to have a count of that. On November 4, 2020, I was instructed to improperly predate the absentee ballots when the receipt date was actually was after November 3rd, 2020. Now, this is really significant because Justice Alito of the Supreme Court instructed Pennsylvania that any ballot that comes in after 8 o'clock on November 3rd, 2020 had to be put aside and not opened because there's a question as to its legality and its constitutionality. What she's telling you is that they blatantly disregarded that order, that they took ballots that were marked the 4th and the 5th and the 6th, and they marked it down for the 3rd in blatant disregard of the order of the United States Supreme Court. This is I don't know if she's a Democrat or Republican. I assume if she's working for the city of Detroit that she's a Democrat. I assume, but I may be wrong. She's a citizen. I've never met her, never coached her. And I'd like you to note that it's signed under penalties of perjury. We have 100 more of these. I can't show them to you because those people don't want to be harassed. They don't want to have their lives torn apart by the goons on the other side. We don't do that to them. They've done that to a lot of our people. They've done it for 4 years. And it's outrageous that it's tolerated, and it's tolerated because you condone it in the press, and you don't cover it, and you don't condemn it. And it shouldn't happen to a Republican or a Democrat. A lawyer shouldn't have to withdraw from a case because he's representing the President of the United States.
All right, when we come back, I will tell you why that sounds great, but a lot of it's absolutely wrong. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Howdy, folks. It's a Caroline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bussin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar. Sink your teeth into our famous Caroline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a cum roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink from trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
Beck Communications is honored to be recently recognized with 3 Broadband Now awards. Beck Communications Cooperative was awarded in the categories of Top Internet Speeds Nationwide, Top 3 Fastest Internet Providers in North Dakota, and North Dakota's #1 fastest fiber provider. It's only through the support of our members and customers that Beck Fiber delivers award-winning speeds and service. Thank you, Beck Communications Cooperative members and customers, for your years of continued support.
Introducing Accord Comfort Sleep Systems, a better way to sleep. We offer you 5 different models to give you the perfect choice of support and body comfort. Every model begins with our exclusive Accord Comfort Reflex Layer. This ensures proper spinal alignment and a deep down body relief. Our 8-inch Whisper Breeze provides a medium firm feel, and our 10-inch Gentle Night model has a quilted top, giving you a medium plush comfort. Both use Outlast fabric on the top of your mattress, ensuring that your body temperature is not too hot and not too cold. Our Copper Rest Sleep Series is our premier mattress, offering your choice of firm, plush, and luxury plush. Every model uses copper-infused gel latex and provides all the health benefits of copper. Accord Comfort mattresses are handcrafted in the USA and come with a 60-night sleep guarantee. You're going to love sleeping with us. Order today exclusively at accordsleep.com or Tom's Home Furnishings in beautiful downtown Harvey.
Is your business phone system outdated and expensive to maintain? Most large VoIP companies leave you on hold or struggling through online support and training for your employees. With Beck Connect, you always have fast, friendly, local support. Familiar faces with the know-how to keep you connected. Take advantage of the newest technology in voice calling, video conferencing, and virtual meeting rooms. Beck Connect gives you all the features you need with no upfront investment and no obsolete hardware or software ever again. Simplify your communications. Choose local. Choose Beck Connect.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So before the break, you saw the clip of Giuliani at the press conference Thursday at the Republican National Committee headquarters. Now, it sounds great. It sounds plausible. It sounds like there are very serious issues, even with the My Cousin Vinny impression, which, by the way, would be great for a TV show or a radio show, just not so great when it's something like this. So he talked about this woman, Jesse Jacob. And he was absolutely right when he said that the press, it's your responsibility to look for some of these things. Really, it is the attorney's job, not the press. But once it's identified, it's the press's job to look into it. And they have. And even though I don't agree with the liberal media, some of the things that the liberal media has reported about all this is true. And some of the things Giuliani said, a lot of them at that press conference were not true. We couldn't show you all of it. The clip was already too long as it is. And he's right that lawyers should not be harassed by the media and by activists. Unfortunately, we're now in a mob rule society. That's very bad. And I agree with him on that. But he quoted Jesse Jacob, and he said, Justice Alito said that those bails should have been set aside. No, he said that about Pennsylvania. As Giuliani pointed out, this woman is in Detroit, which is in Michigan. Later on in the press conference, he talks about how the Michigan precincts he looked at had 100 and 200% turnout, which is unreal. And I would agree with him if that were true. But Powerline blog, which is a conservative blog, it's very pro-Trump. So they're not going to lie like the liberal media and bend over backwards the other way. They found that all the cities that he cited in these precincts were actually cities in Minnesota that had different populations. And that's why there was 100 or 200% turnout, which is impossible, because they screwed up. And he talked about this in the press conference as if this was fact. It was a screw-up. He said, we withdrew our federal lawsuit because the Wayne County Board of Canvassers certified or decertified. But in fact, they voted against certification, but then the two members of it who were Republican were bullied and harassed. And they reversed themselves because they were made an empty promise by the far-left liberal activist Secretary of State of Michigan named Jocelyn Benson. And they reversed themselves. And then they wanted to take that back, and it was too late. And today, the Michigan Board of Canvassers certified. And we'll talk about that if we have time. But that wasn't true, the things that he was saying. And there was so much more. You heard him talk about how she signed and said in her affidavit that she was told by her bosses to backdate ballots that came in on November 4th, and that this was illegal. That's absolutely true. That is illegal, and that's very disturbing. But she didn't do anything about it. She should have called authorities or the Republican lawyers or somebody right away, because again, once the ballots leave the envelopes, it's too late. And Giuliani even kind of alluded to that and talked about that the ballots, once they're gone from the envelopes, you don't know which one is which. That's absolutely true. He talked about that at the beginning of the press conference. Then, in the clip you saw, he says that she was ordered on November 4th, 5th, and 6th to backdate these ballots. In fact, no. She only said, in the part he read, and in her entire affidavit, which I read, to backdate from the 4th. That's bad enough. Don't add dates, Giuliani. Detroit was finished counting on the 4th. Or the early morning of the 5th. I think it was the 4th by the afternoon that they were done counting. So it could not have been the 4th, 5th, and the 6th. And she didn't say that in her affidavit. But it's just too late. In the courts, it's very, very hard to turn over an election. You need specific ballots. You need to be able to trace who voted for what. You can't do that, as I have said earlier in the show and many times on previous shows. So that's a problem. He also said later on in the press conference that Jesse Jacobs said she saw a truck coming with barrels of ballots that were being brought in. And the truck was supposed to be carrying food. In fact, she never said anything about any trucks or anything about that. That actually was from a different person named Melissa who signed an affidavit. And in her affidavit, she didn't say that. She said that there was a van. The van was supposed to be delivering food. She never saw any food come out of the van. She says that she surmises maybe they took ballots out. You can't surmise. You can't guess. You have to have seen it. She doesn't. And then she says that the reason she thinks they saw it was because there was a report of 100,000 ballots early in the morning on the 4th being attributed to Joe Biden. We've talked about that on this show. It's fake. This was based on a fake graphic on somebody's website, on an independent party's website. And it was an error by a Republican county clerk in another place in Michigan, not Detroit. And it was a calculating error. It never went into the vote totals. Somebody else reported it on their website in a graphic, in the form of a graphic. It never happened. It's fake. So these people do not have, there's no there. They just, listen, I really want them to find stuff. I wish there was some way they could overturn the election, but there just isn't. So those were most of the things that I saw in the press conference that they just weren't a fact. And he just didn't know what he was talking about. In fact, the losses by Trump in Michigan were not in Detroit. I pointed out on this show. I think everything went on in the counting in Detroit was scandalous. It was ridiculous. There probably was fraud. I believe there was fraud. They were covering the windows with cardboard. They did not let people come back in for their shifts or report to their shifts who were Republican Trump vote watchers. That is disgusting, and clearly they are covering something up. but you've got to have specifics. And in Detroit, Trump actually got 5,000 more votes this time around than he did last time, and Joe Biden got 1,000 less votes than Hillary Clinton did. The reason Trump lost Michigan was he lost votes in other places that were solidly Republican last time, or where he did much better. A place called Kent County, where Grand Rapids, Michigan is. A lot of other places. So it's just not the case what was being said. Another thing that I really hated about this press conference is this woman, Jenna Ellis. She was the fawning, obsequious blonde in the back behind Giuliani. She is a very juvenile, immature individual. She's very unprofessional. Today she sent out a tweet to someone. I mean, you're representing the President of the United States, and she sent out a tweet telling somebody he has a micro penis. You don't do that when you're representing the President. You know, you just can't. And she is the one that threw Sidney Powell, the lawyer, under the bus. Now, why did the Trump campaign fire Sidney Powell? I don't know, but I can tell you this, that they throw a lot of people under the bus, and it's not good for them. Yes, she had this weird conspiracy theory about how Hugo Chavez and the Chinese maybe were trying to control the elections, but she's right about one thing, which is that Dominion got its origins in Venezuela under Hugo Chavez. Now, could he have foreseen Trump was going to be the president and we were going to have massive votes by mail because of COVID? Hell no. And that's where maybe she went too far. But it is absolutely true that Dominion should not be the equipment we're using, the ties to Venezuela, and so on. So when we come back, we will show you some clips from Senator Kramer, who was on Meet the Press on Sunday. His point of view is absolutely my point of view, and it's not the one being reported in North Dakota and national media. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
I just went in for a regular mammogram, and I found out that I had a little tumor.
Through the exam and the biopsy, it was determined that I had cancer.
I got a call from one of my doctors that I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
After 5 years, they found a local reoccurrence.
The first thing you hear when you're told you have a cancer, it's a little daunting because you don't know where to go with it.
Since 1999, in a partnership between CHI St. Alexius Health and Sanford Health Bismarck, the Bismarck Cancer Center has provided the most advanced radiation therapies and holistic support services for cancer patients and their loved ones for 20 years.
I've been at the Bismarck Cancer Center since it started. I actually was in the basement of Med Center 1 before, when we had old machines and old equipment. And thankfully, the two hospitals at the time, St. Alexius and Med Center 1, joined forces to create the Bismarck Cancer Center.
I walk in the door, I get nothing but hugs, and I was marveled at them. I mean, I thought it was the best place in the world.
The staff is unbelievably compassionate, and they explain everything to you.
Everybody's genuinely concerned about your well-being, and the level of care is just top-notch. The Cancer Center just does such an amazing job of helping people.
To me and my family, the Cancer Center means life. It's given me the ability to live out my life with my family, my wife, my children, my grandchildren.
Because of them, I'm 2 years out. Get to move on with my life, make a difference now for other people.
I would recommend this center because the minute you walk through that door, they've got your back.
This center means so much to me and to the people that are in this building, and we just want to keep giving it back to the community and providing for them what they need.
I'm Katie. I've been cancer-free for 2 years.
I'm Steve, and I've been cancer-free for 4 years.
I've been cancer-free for 10 years.
10 years.
11 years.
15 years.
My name is Lainey, and I've been cancer-free for 18 years.
Bismarck Cancer Center, your partner against cancer for 20 years.
Who do you trust with your digital life? Not all cloud backup providers keep your data truly private. Beck Cloud Backup uses advanced multi-layer encryption to keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business documents secure and only for your eyes. Your Beck Lightband Internet service already includes 50 gigs of free storage to keep your digital life safe and secure. Call us at 701-475-2361 to start using your Beck Cloud Backup today.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So on Sunday, Senator Kramer was on Meet the Press with Chuck Todd. Chuck Todd, a huge liberal activist parading as a journalist and not a really honest journalist. He's attacked people who believe in the Bible as believing in fairy tales, other things like that. He's just not a person to be taken seriously. But I'll tell you who is. Senator Kramer. I was so proud of him. This guy knows how to handle people. He knows how to answer people. You cannot get a single thing over him. He's very smooth. And I was just really enthralled with his answers, just like when he did that interview with, I think it was Axios, a few weeks ago that we showed you. So here are some clips of him on Sunday. Before you watch the clips, I just want to let you know that this is being reported all over the North Dakota and national media as Senator Kramer saying it's time for Trump to give up and give Joe Biden the reins and start the transition. That was a very tiny bit of what he said. In fact, he didn't really say that. He said the legal challenges should go forward. Watch this.
That said, I think again, I don't know why we're so easily offended by a president that's carrying out all of his legal options in court, not enhancing, encouraging any riots or burnings of buildings or beating up of Democrats coming out of Democratic meetings or events. It's just a simple legal process. And really, there have not been a lot of evidentiary hearings that have involved the Trump case. There have been other hearings. I noticed that you used a number that was rather large of cases that have been thrown out or dismissed. But when it comes down to actually looking at evidence, there have not been many, if any, and maybe the Pennsylvania one was the first one. So I think everyone ought to calm down a little bit. I don't see this as an attack on our democracy. I mean, we spent 4 years listening to news shows and liberals trying to discredit the Trump administration to the point of spying on him by the last administration. $40 million spent on a independent counsel that started with no evidence and ended proving that there was no evidence. And then, of course, this crazy impeachment. So I think what we're experiencing now, everyone ought to just relax and let it play out in the legal way. We'll be just fine.
You've implied that there's no damage being done just now in those comments. So you believe the spectacle? I mean, yeah. Well, I want to ask you: the spectacle of Rudy Giuliani on Thursday, using the headquarters of the Republican Party. I mean, at one point, one of the lawyers accused a dead dictator of somehow being a part of this. I mean, are you really saying that the president is? You're out there saying the president's not encouraging somehow any way of sort of being disorderly about this? How is that not encouraging disruption and disorderly? He's accusing the entire system of being corrupt. Is that not undermining the democracy?
Well, first of all, what they're claiming is that there's a lot of evidence, and they're presenting that evidence in cases. Now, it's up to them to present that evidence, Chuck, obviously, and we've yet to see a real hearing where evidence was presented, and they're not obligated to present it at yesterday or tomorrow, although the sooner the better from my perspective. But I'm just speaking strictly now from this attack on democracy, as you call it. These are legal systems. These are processes that are in our Constitution, in our laws, and they're not just appropriate, but they're really an obligation, frankly, to the millions of Americans that President Trump is a reflection of. I know a lot of people like to think that we're the reflection of him. He's a reflection of millions of people that want to see him fight this to the end. Now, there has to be an end, Chuck. I agree. There has to be an end. Yeah. I frankly do think it's time to, it's past time to start a transition, to at least cooperate with the transition. I'd rather have a president that has more than one day to prepare should Joe Biden, end up winning this. But in the meantime, again, he's just exercising his legal options. Administration all the time they need. Now, I will also say this. I think that Vice President Biden has been a bit over dramatic as it relates to Operation Warp Speed and the distribution of the vaccines and things. I mean, none of those things are a secret. The military is in charge of Operation Warp Speed. The military is still going to be there after the election, but there are lots of other things. And I've informed my staff well over a week ago that they ought to cooperate with any transition outreach because we want to be prepared. We have to, we have a government to run regardless of who the president is. Yeah, I know that a lot of people would like a nice, tidy, historically traditional sort of election, but we don't have a traditional president. He didn't get there in a traditional way. I never cease being amazed at people like you who are surprised when he's not behaving the same way as previous presidents have behaved. But I also go back to the fact that just last year, Hillary Clinton referred to him as an illegitimate president. We went through 4 years of trying to delegitimize him. I think that to have this process is just fine. And who knows? Remember, we've also never in history, in this century or any other century, had a massive vote by mail, balloting where there was things like ballot harvesting and ballot curing, things that we've never even heard of before that were taking place. And frankly, a much, much lower rejection rate of mail-in ballots than just 4 years ago when there were many fewer of them. So it's okay to go through this process, make sure it's being done right, make sure that it never happens again if there are irregularities. We can't ignore hundreds of signed affidavits. That's evidence. That's way more evidence than Robert Mueller had.
Absolutely right. I could not have said it better. He is masterful. Do you see how he handled Chuck Todd and how he said, look, yes, there is a point where the transition has to happen, and it probably should have started happening a week or two ago. But he said there's no rush in terms of the COVID stuff. He said the Army handles it. Do you see how he called Joe Biden? Basically, he called him a drama queen. He said he's been a bit overdramatic. Yeah, Joe Biden's a drama queen about all of this. Nobody is going to die because the transition didn't happen. As he said, the Army is handling it. The vaccines will be given out. The CDC is involved. Nothing bad is going to happen because the president is pursuing legal options. And he said, we went through 4 years, you heard him, 4 years of President Trump being questioned as being whether he was the legitimate president. They were constantly harping on the popular vote, which has nothing to do with who gets elected president. And he was absolutely right. I think he handled that with aplomb. And I agree with him. At some point, it does have to end, and it's going to have to end because January 20th, the new president is going to take power. And it's very likely not President Trump. And you would like the president to get up to speed, but still, this is not something where we need to rush. Nobody rushed Al Gore, and that was only over one county. This is about many states and a lot of things going on. Do I think they'll find anything that's going to turn this election over? No way. And I think we need to really rethink how this whole mail-in balloting stuff is done because it's rife with the potential for fraud, and I believe there has been a lot of the fraud. You just can't prove it with enough specificity right now to do anything, and no judge is going to overturn an election. All right, when we come back, I'm going to talk about Senator Kramer's tight relationship with the president and how that has affected his energy legacy in North Dakota. And we'll talk about what happened with the Michigan Board of Canvassers. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
Bismarck Central, 4800.
4800, go ahead.
Requesting social services on-call team.
Stand by. 4800 social services requesting additional information.
You can advise social services that we have an 18-month-old female who was in a residence with a mother, now being transported to medical care for overdose.
Trusting your digital life to faceless tech giants can be risky. Will they keep your family and business information truly safe from prying eyes? If you subscribe to local Beck Lightband Internet service, you already have Beck Cloud Backup. Beck Cloud Backup is the safest, most private cloud storage for all your family memories, schoolwork, and business documents. Call 701-475-2361 to start using your free space on Beck Cloud Backup today.
You just might find the home of your dreams this weekend by watching the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes Sundays at 6 p.m. and Wednesdays at 7 on Beck, featuring properties from Bismarck, Mandan, Minot, and surrounding areas. The Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes presents desirable properties that are for sale, lets you meet your Alliance realtors, and provides critical insights into local happenings from community and business leaders. Join us this Sunday evening at 6 or Wednesday at 7 for the Alliance Real Estate Tour of Homes on Beck.
Today's households have more digital devices than ever before. More links to family, business, education, and entertainment. Beck Communications spent over 10 years building North Dakota's fastest fiber optic internet service. Beck Lightband Internet, outpacing speeds in large cities nationwide. Lightband Internet handles all your digital needs without throttling your connection to the world. Beck Communications, valuable digital connections in rural North Dakota.
Howdy folks, it's the County Line Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous County Line burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spur rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So before the break, we played you the clips from Meet the Press, and I think Senator Kramer was right on the money, and it's not, again, what's being reported that he called for President Trump to concede. He never did that. All of these reports that he said it's time for President Trump to transition, you saw that interview. He said President Trump should go through these legal challenges, that there's no rush. Now, I think he agrees with me, and I think he said this on the show, maybe not in the clips we showed you, that he doesn't see it being overturned, and that Joe Biden probably will be president. That said, that doesn't mean that you can't go after these things. By the way, one other thing I want to point out is that, yes, there were a lot of dead people voting in Detroit, in Michigan, and other places, but we knew that. We know Democrats vote when they're dead. They have an afterlife. Nobody has done anything about it for years. Republicans are now only paying attention to it now. Why? Also, the fact that 72% of the precincts in Detroit had ballot counts that did not match the log. So in other words, they just didn't jibe. There were more votes than people who ordered ballots and so on. Those kinds of things happen in the primary. All the Republicans voted to certify. Those kinds of things happen in the last two presidential elections. Why did they not say anything? This is voter fraud that needs to be stopped so that these kinds of things don't happen again next time. Now, Senator Kramer was a very close friend, is a very close friend of President Trump's, and that has had tremendous dividends for the state of North Dakota. President Trump visited North Dakota 4 times, which, as Senator Kramer pointed out, not on Meet the Press, but in another media venue, he pointed out that his other president friends, so previous presidents that are Republican, and maybe Democrat too, have not visited North Dakota with as much frequency or at all. President Trump came 4 times. Now, why did this happen? Because Senator Kramer endorsed President Trump early on, well before he got the Republican nomination. He was one of the early endorsers, and they forged a relationship, and he helped him write the America First energy policy. That has been tremendously beneficial for North Dakota in terms of the the Dakota Access Pipeline, which was approved the second day of the president's term in office, the second day, January 21st, and also the Keystone Pipeline, President Trump was very pro-energy, very pro-fossil fuels. As we know, Biden said he wanted to get rid of them by 2025. Then he said he really meant 2035. Either way, that is a disaster for North Dakota, where coal is important and oil is important. And again, as I've said many times, you're a farmer. How are you going to run those machines? You're going to plug in your tractor to some electric grid overnight? Is everybody in North Dakota going to do that and the power grid's going to go down? We're not equipped to do that. We won't be able to do that in 5 years. We won't be able to do that in 10 years. We just aren't set up for that. So the president was a great friend of North Dakota. He came to give a speech in the summer of 2016 when he was running to the Williston Basin Petroleum Conference at the Bismarck Event Center. And a lot of North Dakotans came to that event, including Governor Burgum and so on. And President Trump heard from a lot of North Dakotans and he listened. That's going to go away with Joe Biden. Joe Biden does not care about North Dakota. He doesn't. He wants to put North Dakota out of business. This Green New Deal, all this other stuff. He says he's not for the Green New Deal, but I don't know what you call getting rid of fossil fuels by 2025 or 2035. That is the Green New Deal. I don't know what else you would call that. All right, so let's get on to Michigan, because this has been beyond what I said about Detroit and the Wayne County Board of Canvassers. This has been a big story over the weekend nationally, because President Trump invited two members of the Michigan legislature, the heads of both branches of the legislature, the Michigan Senate leader Mike Shirkey and the House leader Lee Chatfield. He invited them to the White House on Saturday. They stayed at a Trump hotel. There were a lot of stories that President Trump put them up there and they were drinking $400 or $500 a bottle Dom Perignon champagne. Lee Chatfield paid for his own expenses. He paid to stay at that hotel. He paid for his own champagne, which he's allowed to do. Have you ever seen any of the liberal Democrat fat cats in Washington? Trust me, they're drinking something even more expensive than $500 a bottle Dom Perignon. They're drinking the even better good stuff, all right? So we don't own the monopoly on this, and he's allowed to spend his money on what he wants. But he was harassed. Lee Chatfield, the Speaker of the Michigan House, his picture was put on a screen, was put like it was lit on the wall of the Trump hotel by the liberals to try and embarrass him. He took a picture of it. He thought it was cool. He put it on his social media. Here's why President Trump invited them. He said it wasn't about overturning the election. They said they were going to take the opportunity. Anytime a president invites you, why wouldn't you go to the White House to try and get more aid and more relief for your state? Why wouldn't you? You know the Democrats would go to the White House if Barack Obama or Joe Biden invited them, Hillary Clinton. So this was phony, much ado about nothing. They even said they were not going to overturn the election. They said it before they went to the White House. They said it after. Now, today the Michigan Board of Canvassers met, and there was the feeling that the two Republican members, it's divided 2-2, there's no tiebreaker. The two Republicans would break ranks, and Michigan would not certify the election. It would be tied up in the courts. Maybe the state legislature could decide. They've never had this situation before. This has never happened because this is an unusual election. Well, today, this afternoon, actually, right before we went on the air, the one member of the Republican delegation to the Michigan Board of Canvassers, his name is Aaron Van Langveld, he voted to certify. The person they thought was going to vote against it, Norm Schinkel, a former state senator, who's a good conservative. His wife is one of the 100 affidavit signers. She was at the TCF Center in Detroit counting those ballots and watching, and she saw the fraud going on. She's one of the people who signed an affidavit. They thought he was going to vote no, but he actually abstained. He said there's no way to vote no. Essentially, they are a rubber stamping board. Now, I think if you're appointed to a board, shouldn't rubber stamp anything. You're not a computer. And if you were, they could have computers do this. They appoint people to use their judgment. But still, the Republican voted with the Democrats, so Michigan certified. So that's that with that. And this whole thing about the Michigan legislators going to meet the president, big deal. It's just incredible, the hysteria and the faux anger and hype over all of this. People need to calm down. And when we come back, we'll talk about Joe Biden is moving forward and he's making some appointments that it reminds you of another administration that I hated, that isn't good for America, and there'll be more of it. That and more after these messages on No Filter with Debbie on Beck.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Introducing Accord Comfort Sleep Systems, a better way to sleep. We offer you 5 different models to give you the perfect choice of support and body comfort. Every model begins with our exclusive Accord Comfort Reflex Layer. This ensures proper spinal alignment and a deep down body relief. Our 8-inch Whisper Breeze provides a medium firm feel, and our 10-inch Gentle Night model has a quilted top, giving you a medium plush comfort. Both use Outlast fabric on the top of your mattress, ensuring that your body temperature is not too hot and not too cold. Our Copper Rest Sleep Series is our premier mattress, offering your choice of firm, plush, and luxury plush. Every model uses copper-infused gel latex and provides all the health benefits of copper. Accord Comfort mattresses are handcrafted in the USA and come with a 60-night sleep guarantee. You're going to love sleeping with us. Order today exclusively at accordsleep.com or Tom's Home Furnishings in beautiful downtown Harvey.
Capital City Restaurant Supply is your one-stop shop for quality restaurant products for the large to small kitchens. Commercial-grade restaurant and bar supplies, limb game processing equipment, refrigeration, dinnerware, and smallware. We sell everything including the kitchen sink for trusted manufacturers for the chef and all of us. Open to the public since 1971, we are veteran-owned and North Dakota proud. Let us take care of your restaurant and home kitchen needs today by visiting us at 1414 Interstate Loop in Bismarck or on the web at capitalcityrestaurantsupply.com.
My name is Rich Shook, and I lost my best friend in a grain bin accident. Some of the emotional scars that when these incidences happen just resonates throughout the community like dropping a rock in a pond. I guess I'll never forget. At least the last moments we shared. That's why I think this is so important to get out there to people, is people think that it can't happen to you, and it can. The time it would take you to just kiss a loved one and your life is over. I believe it's unacceptable.
This message provided by North Dakota Farmers Union.
Welcome back to No Filter with Debbie on Beck. So, we talked about more of the fallout from the U.S. election. Well, there's more fallout from the North Dakota election. We've been talking about that seat that Dave Ondal, who, may he rest in peace, unfortunately passed away from COVID, and he won that seat, the North Dakota seat. Well, guess what? One of the House seats, guess what is going to happen with that? We don't know, because it's before the Supreme Court. So I told you that Governor Burgum made the state of North Dakota, that's you, the taxpayers, pay for a lawyer for himself to sue. So he's suing because he wants to have the right to appoint who he wants to that seat. He appointed an energy executive, Mr. Beauchamp, to that seat, and a coal company executive, and the legislature says, no, we have the right to appoint this person, and Wayne Stenjum, our Attorney General, says no, agrees. He says no, the legislature has the right to appoint this person. Well, there are more wrinkles to it. So the Supreme Court heard oral arguments on Friday about this. And Governor Burgum's lawyer, paid for by you, made the arguments that Governor Burgum should get to appoint Wayne Stenjum, made the arguments against. In the meantime, the Republicans in that district, guess what? They appointed the person that previously held the seat, a real conservative, and Mr. Delzer, Jeff Delzer. And Jeff Delzer was the one who faced Mr. Andal because Governor Burgum paid $1.8 million of his own money to a PAC to get rid of Jeff Delzer. Can you imagine? You're running for office, you do a great job, you are an office holder, and a multimillionaire, or in this case a billionaire, just throws money into your opponent's hands against you for no reason other than he doesn't like you, you're a conservative. It boggles the mind, but this kind of Republican infighting should stop. And I don't think any one person, I do believe in freedom of speech, and the Supreme Court has ruled that this kind of contribution to PACs is covered by freedom of speech, but I don't think one person should be able to do this unless the money is for their own candidacy. That's different. But this is like basically an enemies list that he has, and he's going to fund people to get rid of the... How are you going to raise $1.8 million to match that in a state legislative seat in North Dakota? It's just unheard of. But anyway, it's before the Supreme Court. Jeff Delzer's been appointed by the district. They've nominated him, the district Republicans. I think the legislature wants Jeff Delzer. Clearly, the governor wants Mr. Beauchamp. We'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting. The Supreme Court did not say when they were going to issue their decision. Okay, so there's that. Now, this was an interesting story that I think is, we looked at all these other states, a lot of fraud going on probably, all these mail-in ballots are being accepted much later. Did you know that in North Dakota they're accepted late too? So apparently all they have to do is be postmarked by November 3rd. So Ward County, they actually are doing their job because they said that the last day for them to accept ballots, and I don't know if it's the same everywhere around the state, but was November 9th, Monday, November 9th, so 2 weeks ago. And then they went through the ballots, and listen to this. They said that you had to show proof of residence by that day for your ballots if there was a question. And they set aside 21 ballots. They accepted 21, or they set aside a lot more than that. They set aside 160 ballots. They accepted 21 of them. They rejected 139 of them due to insufficient documentation or identification. Good for them. They're doing the job everyone in America that's counting ballots should be doing, but isn't. If everybody in America did what they did, I don't think we'd have all these lawsuits. President Trump might have been reelected. Not likely given the large amount of results, but the large number of votes against him, but maybe. We'll never know. They also added an additional 88 ballots to the count overall at canvassing. And they said what happens is you have results on election night that are considered unofficial results. And that means that those that were allowed to be counted through election day were counted and presented by every county. And then there were a couple of situations that allowed for additional ballots to be considered. Good. All right, so North Dakota does its job. And Governor Burgum allowed the ballots to start being counted early. So you didn't have the kind of results in other states where Trump was this high and Biden was this low, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the night or the next day it goes the opposite way. Good. The whole country should do their elections like North Dakota. Now, as we know, Thanksgiving is this week, and we know the governor's orders about a lot of things shutting down, or other places like bars and restaurants having to be at a much lower capacity, and some of them at 25% capacity. It's very hard. He's also telling people to be very careful and not get together on Thanksgiving. You shouldn't have large crowds. He has gotten on the bandwagon with all these other governors, and a lot of them are phony. He, by the way, attacked the sheriffs for not enforcing. We talked about these great sheriffs throughout North Dakota who said they're not going to enforce the mask mandate and send somebody to jail over it. And he attacked them. And he said he didn't think they should do that. Well, you know what? They're elected sheriff for a reason. Again, not to be computers and automatically enforce governor's orders. We trust them. They have their own individual judgment. They're doing the right thing, just like the sheriffs in New York who said they're not going to enforce Governor Cuomo's anti-Thanksgiving order. The governor did do one thing, and this shows the power of North Dakotans. We talked about how there was an online petition, and a lot of people were upset that after-school extracurriculars and sports were canceled. Guess what? That worked because the governor reversed his order, and sports will resume on Monday, November 30th, with extra precautions in place. Competition suspended until December 14th. Good. You know what? Speaking out helps, at least in North Dakota. People listen. Governor Cuomo, by the way, is a hypocrite. He told people not to have Thanksgiving. They can't have these gatherings. He's had these people. He wants these law enforcement to invade people's Thanksgiving celebrations and ruin them and arrest people. Well, guess what? He said he's going to have 11 people at his Thanksgiving because he loves Thanksgiving. Another governor hypocrite, just like the governor of California, told people to wear masks and not to go to restaurants and to social distance. Then he went to the French Laundry fancy restaurant, didn't social distance, wasn't wearing a mask, blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, did you know Governor Cuomo got an Emmy for his masterful delivery of his press conferences about COVID? Are you serious? The Emmys are ridiculous. This is what's going on in America. Everything to support the propaganda of these hypocritical left-wing Democrat governors who want to shut everything down. Shut down Thanksgiving, shut down Christmas, shut down everything. We have to live our lives. And remember, things are not always as they seem. See you tomorrow.